right, everybody. Welcome to a very special From Screen to Shelf review. Today, we are unboxing personally, and I know Will was super excited for this, hence why we're doing this review, a very anticipated release. I almost folded for, I think Criterion did a Blu-ray of this. I literally almost folded. Then they announced this a few months ago. But we are going to be talking everything new and exciting about the brand new Crimson Peak 4K courtesy of Arrow Video. Um, honestly, man, we're going to do this one a little bit differently than how people might get used to us doing it. Usually whenever we do these joint reviews, we'll kind of just show things right here. And then my solo reviews, I have my unboxing table, aka my podcast station, just without the keyboard. So what I did is I went ahead and took a video of it, just better lighting so you guys could see it, because I think that this might genuinely be one of my favorite things on my shelf now, with the way that this looks, the way that this is presented. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw up a video on here in a few seconds after we give out some initial thoughts, and then we're going to play the video and then talk a little bit over the video while it plays, and we're going to unbox it. Will has not seen the 4K transfer yet. I have. We'll talk about the special features, everything like that, anything else. And then, yeah, so we're going to do things just a little bit differently.
It's good to switch things up every now and then, isn't it? You know,
Good to be experimental.
I think we both feel very similar about this movie.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I mean,
great
we'll
movie.
talk about that first, and then I guess we'll talk about our experience with it. And
Yeah,
then I don't know if we want to get into like the story too much, because I'm sure there's people out there that still haven't seen this. And like, dude, just so you know, I'm pretty sure this movie came out in 2015. It's already
yeah,
been 9 years since this
yeah,
fucking movie came out,
yeah.
which is crazy to think about.
Gone by
You know?
fast, man.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. But I think the one thing I'll say about this before we get into it, like what makes this movie stand out to me is for the time that this movie was released. If we think back to 2015, from what I can remember of that time period, it's one of the few movies that I think blends practical effects and visual effects incredibly well.
Yeah,
I think it does a fantastic job of that. There's certain things in this movie that were completely VFX that I had no idea were VFX, because it was blended so well.
yeah,
Um, so it's one of those movies from that time period that I think it's why it stood out so much to me initially, because of how well the use of practical was blended with the
the
VFX.
visual. Yeah,
So we can get into that a little more, but yeah, I mean, I saw it in theaters, I think, originally, and loved it. You know, Guillermo del Toro, I think it's one of his best movies.
I agree.
It's a personal favorite of mine from his.
Agreed.
I would throw it up there with Blade 2. I'm a big fan of Blade 2. I just love the style that he has, and obviously he's so established by now. Everybody knows a Del Toro film
Yeah,
because he has that distinct visual style. But I think what he brought to this was just incredible. Like what he
agreed.
was able to do with this, he was able to incorporate his style with this movie. And this movie to me stands out visually more so, I think, than some of his other movies. I just love it. It's right up my alley. You know, I'm a big horror guy, as you guys know. But Chase, I want to get your thoughts on it. Like initially, like what you thought when you saw it, and how you saw it, whether it was theatrical or streaming or physical media.
Yeah, it was actually physical media. I got it out of a bargain bin. For the
That's the
regular
best, dude.
Blu-ray. Yeah,
Yeah,
for the regular Blu-ray, I would say maybe just a couple of years after release. It's been a while. I
yeah.
don't have that Blu-ray anymore. I might. I just haven't seen it in a while. Could be
Dude,
somewhere.
I think I have a Blu-ray from I actually think I have the Arrow version of the Blu-ray,
Oh, really?
which yeah, and dude, it's weird because I remember buying it like probably 3 years ago, three and a
Mhm,
half years ago, if
mhm.
I'm remembering correctly. And I remember saying to myself, like, this is bound to get a fucking 4K at some point. Because
Yeah,
it's the type of movie that would warrant a 4K. And I
yeah,
remember seeing it and not realizing it was a Blu-ray. And I was like, oh, this is only the Blu-ray, but I bought it anyway because I was like, I love the movie so much, I'm just gonna buy it.
yeah.
And I wish I had. I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, man, and I wanted to shout out another movie that's very similar to this, different completely story-wise, but in
Mm,
the setting and aesthetic. I
mm.
actually had seen it around the same time, but it's a Daniel Radcliffe movie called The Woman in Black.
Oh
It's
yes, very
super
similar.
s very similar, almost
Yeah.
like pacing different. You know, that one's
Mhm,
much more slow burn, full throttle the last 10 minutes. This one gives you a little bit of it all right after the
mhm,
3rd act. But I wanted to shout out that movie because I saw those around the same time, and that's kind of why I have an appreciation for that gothic horror ever since.
mhm.
It's become one of my favorites since then.
Yeah, and just to kinda get into the story briefly,
Mhm.
we can I guess I'll give, like, a brief synopsis. Crimson Peak is essentially the name of this mansion, and I don't know if this takes place in I'm pretty sure I don't know if it takes place overseas. I know it starts in America, and I think it's in New York it's based out of, but, um I forget her name, but I always mispronounce it because, it's always reminding me of the
Oh, like
Wachowski
Maya?
last name.
Yeah, it's like Maya
Yeah, it's like
something,
Maya
yeah.
Wasikowski or Wasikowska, I believe. Um, she plays a woman named Edith who's like this aspiring author, whose late mother, passed away, and she's haunted by her mother's ghost who gives her a warning. And it's like something like, beware of Crimson Peak or like watch out or be careful for Crimson Peak or I forget what it says
Pretty
exactly, but
much.
um and she ends up being, I guess we can say, not necessarily seduced. I can't think of the right word for it, but she's kind of wooed into going to Crimson Peak by Tom Hiddleston's character. I think his name is he's like
It's
this guy
Tom.
Thomas Sharp
Yeah.
or Tom Sharp, uh, and he's the so-called owner of this giant mansion, which essentially it's like this huge Gothic mansion that sits on this. I guess we can call it. It's just this I don't know if it's a hill or a mountain or whatever you wanna call it. It just sits on this whole landscape of, like, this blood red clay.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm trying to think who else is in it. Jessica Chastain is in this,
Chastain.
which I always
Jessica
forget.
Chastain. Yeah.
Um, and she plays his sister, and her motives are kinda unclear, she's kinda like
So that's why I love this movie, man, is
yeah,
the
I don't wanna get
that
into it, but
yeah.
she plays a great part in this movie
Yeah.
because it's
She's
one of
great.
those it's one of those performances that definitely keeps you guessing, like, you're questioning
Yeah.
what side she's on, and I love that. But
Yeah.
let's just put it this way: this can be considered it's obviously a ghost story. It's a supernatural film.
Mhm.
I think it's we can call it. I don't know if you want to call it like a gothic love story in a sense as well, because it is a bit of a love story there, and there's also a lot of suspense in this. So I would even go as far as to say that you would call this a supernatural thriller as well.
I
So
could yeah,
it kind of dips its toe into quite a few different subgenres. So
even
which I
romance.
appreciate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I want to get into the let's pull up the unboxing that you recorded. Let's take a
Boom,
look
boom,
at that, and
boom.
we'll give our thoughts on what we got here. So, dude, this first I want to point this out. I don't know if you happen to know this, and maybe somebody watching this can confirm. Comment down below if anybody owns anything else that Arrow has put out that is similar to the style and the packaging of this release. More so the packaging.
It's a book.
Um, I
Yeah.
didn't know that, dude. I had
I
no
didn't either.
idea.
I had no
I
it
had
looked like just
no idea.
another full slip.
I thought it was just going to be another full slip, like an LE full slip. And unbeknownst to me, I opened the plastic and I saw
Yep.
that little tab, and I was like, "No fucking way,
Yeah.
no!" I was like, "You got to be
Yeah.
kidding me!" Like,
Yeah.
and that dude Chase, that immediately shot it up into like upper echelon of
Yeah.
releases for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Of, like, all time, like, I genuinely will say, and you'll see in this video that
Hmm.
it's gonna be tough to beat this release
Yeah,
in a non-premium format, for the
right,
rest of the year, unless they put out something else, but I totally forgot this was coming out. I thought it was later in the year, and then somebody on the Reddit was posting videos or pictures, and I was like, "Dude, it's a fucking book." So that's
yeah,
why I went and picked it up,
yeah, man,
not too long ago, but I'm gonna go and press play,
yeah.
and
Let's do
there's
it.
the and it's very thick. It's a little bit thicker than what you're used to seeing
Hmm.
with your normal, what's the name say, the Arrow full slips? Because I was expecting just for it to
Yeah.
be plug and play and flush, but I actually had to move it around a little bit over there on my,
Mm.
shelf, and now it sits
But
at
look
the
at
end, and
this.
yeah, yeah, let me pause that and focus in on that
Yeah,
real
let's
quick.
pause it. So you took the J card off, but let's look at the so it's got this Yeah, that's what I love about it, dude. It looks like it's like a book. And dude, it's like it's funny
Yeah.
because it's almost like it's like they took a page out of Vinegar Syndrome's playbook with the VSU releases that they have.
Yes.
The Vinegar Syndrome Ultimate line,
Yeah. That's
or
exactly
Ultra,
what it
whatever you
reminded me
call it.
of. Yes.
Which I don't care. Like, I don't mind. I love that Arrow did this because I'm surprised that they haven't done this. And again,
Already.
maybe someone in the comments can correct us. We may be mistaken. To my knowledge, I don't know if they've ever done anything like this.
It's crazy, man. And then just look at that art
Yeah,
right there.
that's beautiful.
It
And then you
is,
got one of the ghosts there
yeah,
on the left hand side, or I guess we could say the left tab. But I love this, dude. You just like Vinegar Syndrome, you pull that
pull
little
tab.
tab. I do that. That's gold. Like that sells it for me.
And look at
I
that
love
right
that.
there. The only thing they could have done better was make some of it textured, like we've seen in some of the VSU releases.
Right.
But
That would
that's
have
being
taken it up a
nitpicking.
notch.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that would
and but
have.
again, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
complain. And dude,
yeah,
we got our 80-page
that looks
production
great.
booklet there,
The only
which is
thing I didn't, I listened to the audio commentary. Every single special feature on here. That's
mm,
the only thing I have left is to read that. I need to get better at reading those because I'm sure there's a lot of great info that's not in special features in those.
yeah.
I love how it has a dude, you should have been me whenever I opened that. I pulled that open thinking it was the movie because
Yeah.
it was covered with the cards like that. So I'm
I
like,
you
"Where's
know
my
what though?
movie?"
I thought the same thing because I was like, "Oh shit, this is a heavy ass fucking case." I was like, "What the
Yeah.
hell's in here?"
It's got 4 discs, and I didn't open that. We can show it on here, but Crimson Peak still is one of my favorite movie posters of all time. I didn't
Mm.
really do it much justice right there, but I think it's an
I
absolutely gorgeous
And I
poster.
actually kinda dig the red and blue, almost like the 3D vibe, that you
Yeah.
get from the lobby cards or the postcards in there. That's kinda cool, and then they have the alternate artwork style on the back with and those are our 4 main characters, folks.
Yeah.
So we have, Edith, who's played by Mia, Wasikowska, I believe, and then, what's his name? Thomas Sharp, who's played by Tom Hiddleston, and then his sister, I forget the sister's name in the movie, but she's played by Jessica Chastain, who is
Mhm.
again, all the performances in this movie are solid. I mean, we're talking like top cast. I'm not as familiar with Mia, that actress, as far as what else she's done, but obviously everybody
She was
knows Tom
Alice.
Hiddleston. Oh, she's
Alice in Wonderland. She's
Alice
Alice.
in Wonderland. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, great cast. And while I was thinking
Yeah.
of it, just because not only is this a fully loaded physical release like that,
Mm.
this has some of the most special features I've seen
Yeah.
on an Arrow. I think the Conan one had quite a bit, but I
Yeah.
needed to go
Conan
ahead
had
and
a
knock
lot.
this out. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Um
do it. Let's run through them.
4K, presented in Dolby Vision HDR, approved by Guillermo del Toro for those that care about that. Original DTSX, and then it also has a, I believe, 7.1 DTSX audio track as well. So that's really awesome. So then
Mm.
the other things that it's got, it's so loaded. An audio commentary by co-writer and director Guillermo del Toro. The House is Alive, Constructing Crimson Peak. That's an hour-long documentary, and shout out to that one. If you like practical effects, the entire house, and well, I don't know if you knew this, the entire house was built for this movie.
Yeah, the house was constructed entirely for the filming of the movie,
It's
which
crazy.
I mean, dude, we got to think about this too. This was 10 years ago now. Like
Yeah.
unless you have a big budget movie like
Mhm.
nowadays with inflation and, obviously the challenges that the film industry is going through. I mean, this kind of stuff is becoming less and less common.
Mhm.
So, to find out that this is what or I guess we could say this is the length and the level that they went to make this as authentic as possible and actually building, this environment, building this set, building the house, so to speak. Like
This is crazy, man.
that shows. Like when you watch the film, it shows because
Mhm.
there's continuity like nothing else, right? And
Yep.
and and it can sometimes be hard to fake when you're just on a regular set and
Mhm.
you don't have everything there. But the fact that they built this house entirely is an achievement in itself.
Yep.
So that's just
It's
crazy to think
crazy.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. The next thing that they have is a Spanish interview with Guillermo del Toro, the Gothic
Mm,
Corridor, the Scullery, the Red Clay Mines, the Limbo Frog Set. Those are pretty much four featurettes that focus on little tiny minor things that are pretty much reiterated in that hour long little
mm,
mini doc. A primer on Gothic romance. The director and stars talk about the key traits of Gothic romance, which was cool. They have like three different ones on that. It's
mm,
cool. It's cool that's a genre, but I kind of wanted them to dive a little bit more as I was going through them at this point, just on the set design. Like I got spoiled by the whole house and how they were making it, and how they were building it. And they just
yeah,
started talking about the genre, which is cool. If you love this specific genre of movies, the special features will get you going, especially for one of
yeah.
the ones later. Um, the light and dark of Crimson Peak, the cast and crew talk about the film's use of color, which I also wanted to talk about and shout that out. America is in warm and everything once they get out of America, which isn't really a plot point. Once they get out of America, everything is intentionally teal and then dark teal or cyan.
Yeah.
And that to make it so that way when you have the clay and everything, it pops that much more.
Mhm.
They didn't want an
Yeah.
ounce of warm on set at this
Mhm.
point. So it was just the amount of thought that Guillermo del Toro put into this movie is absolutely insane. Hand tailored Gothic, it talks about the clothing, which was really cool. They literally etched pieces of the house and stuff on their clothing. So super, super
Mhm.
cool. Good things to look forward to. And then walking
And
tour
that's
around the
one of those
house.
things, can I comment on that? Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah, go
another
for it.
creative thing that you do as a production designer or
Yeah.
someone who's making a film to really incorporate that, and I
Mhm.
wanna get to the ghosts too, and we'll get to that because that's a special feature on
It
here as
is.
well. There's a couple things that touch on that because one of the things that I think stands out about this film, are the various ghosts
Mhm.
that the characters encounter.
Yep. Yeah, that one's really cool. This one was actually one of my favorite ones that wasn't that hour-long one. But it's right before they tore down the set. Tom Hiddleston gives you a tour of all of it and just talks about,
Mm,
like, the memories and how it was shot and stuff like that, and it was just kinda endearing. You could tell that he really, really did like working on this movie, and it
mm,
really shows. All of them did.
yeah,
Crimson Phantoms, which was the one that you were referencing. That
yes.
was the one I was waiting for because they don't talk about the I was curious. I was like, "Are these all CGI? Are they practical?" You guys keep talking about it being all practical, but it's like 98% practical, 2% CGI, just to make
Mhm,
them look more, like in this, they have the full on one of the ghost suits like you see on like some of the title cards and right there on the front cover for what
mm,
we did on the unboxing on the front of the case. But what they do is they would put like splotches of the green screen or like not the greens the suit on them. So
mm,
like if they wanted like a digit to be like half gone or something like that, they would just put like
right,
everything else was really there though. Like you'd had the
yeah,
people jittering and then just to make them look slightly less visible. It's amazing, and it really, really shows the practical aspects of it, and genuinely, honestly, whenever you see them practical, they're a lot more terrifying. They really
mhm,
are, and they look really ghastly, man.
yeah. Yeah, and, we don't wanna take anything away from VFX artists, but,
Yeah.
and this is something that you'll hear in the industry as well, like, VFX is incredibly costly,
Mhm,
uh, and that being said, like, I'm a firm believer in the idea that VFX is there to enhance what you can do practically,
mhm,
right? Not to completely take over. And there's plenty of examples of this. We can go on for hours about how many movies incorporate, in my opinion, too much VFX, and
mhm.
it takes you out of it. In my opinion, it takes you out of the story. It just takes you out of it. It feels like you're watching something that's not real. Like when you watch a movie like this, Crimson Peak, it everything looks real because because most of it is.
Yeah.
Like, someone sat there and designed this, whether it was with latex and body paint and prosthetics, like, they this was created, like, somebody sat there and created these things. Somebody thought this up or,
Mhm.
Del Toro had the vision. He brought it to his creative team, to his art department, and they made this shit happen, and that's what I think is, it just makes me enjoy the movie so much more knowing that people worked so hard for so many hours to like bring this kind of stuff to life and just make
Yeah.
it come across as so authentic and so unique. And that's what I love about the ghosts in this movie. This is a unique movie in the sense that you don't just get one ghost, you get multiple, and they all have it's interesting because they each kind of take on a different personality, and that's what I love about it. And they're also visually
Mhm.
a bit different from one another, which is important.
Yeah.
So there's that visual disparity between each phantom, so to speak. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It gives you something to look forward to other than just, oh, it's okay, it's the same ghost again.
Yeah, just a haunting.
Right, right.
More or
Which
less.
we've gotten too many movies like that already. We can talk about,
Yeah.
but that's why I think this movie stands out from so many other movies in its genre. Um, I actually got an idea. We should do like a gothic movie.
I'd be
We
down.
should do like a list or like a countdown of like gothic films because I don't think that's a genre that doesn't get spoken of much.
Yeah.
And maybe because it's not as popular as everything else as far as a subgenre is concerned, but there's plenty of really cool, interesting, like creepy gothic style movies out there
Yeah. No, there
that we could
definitely is,
talk
man.
about. So
Especially
we
because
could
like, it's just a genre that I feel like gets overlooked, especially at
yeah
an age nowadays like this. You have all the
yeah
Marvel blockbusters coming out around this. This was really whenever it was peaking, you know what I mean?
hmm
So that's really what a lot
exactly
of people were consuming, so I think it just got overlooked with what was going on at the time.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd totally be down for that, man.
You
Um,
saw it. So what's your take on the sound mixing, the audio, the video components?
yes.
What let's get your review here before we take off.
Yeah, let me throw out these last because there's actually 2 Arrow exclusive ones. All the other ones are recycled from older releases,
Oh yeah,
but
let's
they
finish the
have
special features first.
oh, yeah, it's only a few more, not too much. Kim Newman on Crimson Peak and the Tradition of Gothic Romance, an interview with the author and critic. Violence and Beauty and Guillermo del Toro's Gothic fairy tale films, which that was actually my favorite special feature because it's just well done. It's just
Mm,
it doesn't really it's just somebody essentially analyzing the movie. Like you'll kind of see if you're familiar with Second Sight releases. I think they might have taken a little bit of inspiration from that, where like one of the last features is some guy or maybe a member. There was one, I think it was Possessor,
yeah.
where the lead lady in there actually broke down the entire movie for you as it was, not really as a commentary, but over quick scenes. Deleted scenes, image gallery, original trailers, and TV spots. Always recommend checking that out. And that wraps that up. That's a lot. That's almost, I counted it, I think 2.5 hours in video extras. You're getting almost
Wow.
over 4.5 hours with the audio commentary. So
Damn.
that's fantastic rewatchability, and it is a BD 100.
Mhm.
In regards to the color palette, honestly, whenever it very first started, I wasn't too gung ho. I wasn't really like, I was like, okay, I'm definitely happy with the purchase and everything, but it's very
Mm,
warm as they're in America.
mm,
Very, very, very like kind of like stained overtone, I guess you could say.
right.
But as it starts advancing and then the resolution really, really, really starts to pick up and start showing, it really, really just advances, really starts looking good, but especially once they get to the Allendale, I believe is what the technical name for the, Crimson Peak is.
Mhm.
Once they get to that hall, and our 3 main characters are there, it's fucking stunning. The HDR on the snow, the manor, everything like that, where you have the clays and the bloods and everything seeping through the walls against just like that again, that those dark blues, the bright blues, the greens, like that cool color palette that you have for the manor.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, man. The sound design is absolutely incredible. Um, Absolutely just stellar in every way. I think this is absolutely one of Arrow's best releases for more
Mm,
modern movies.
yeah.
I didn't know because like I they even kind of show you on when you're watching the special features on the Blu-ray, and that's why I always like watching them because it'll kind of show you like just an HD reel of the movie, like
Oh, yeah.
non-mastered,
Yeah.
so you'll kind of notice that. I'm like, damn, that looks like shit what they're showing, So it made me appreciate the presentation that they had on there a lot more. So I'm giving this entire package a 10 out of 10. This entire
Wow.
package just knocks it out of the park. And
Okay.
I really do think even if I had blind bought this, I still would be giving it that same score. It's freaking loaded. The hard
Mm,
case packaging, everything that you get physically as a collector, every special feature, plus the ones that are exclusive to the set, everything like that. It's a home run package. There's you'd be hard pressed to find another release that's come out this year that's been that packed. That's
yeah.
crazy. That isn't Second Sight, because Second
Right.
Sight, this is normal for Second Sight. I'm not trying to say Arrow doesn't, but they don't always
Mm,
knock it out of the park with their special features.
yeah. I gotta say, as far as packaging is concerned, I would give it like a straight 4.5 or probably even a 5 out of 5 for the
Yeah.
packaging alone. This is something that I wish Arrow would do more often, and hopefully, I'm hoping this sells well. And that's the only thing I was unsure of. I was unsure what the market was for this
Hmm.
movie. Because like
Hmm.
you said, it's a much newer film, and it's not something. I mean, not that Arrow doesn't release newer, more modern movies, but it's not something they do often. So I always question that as well as to whether or not something like this would do well. But I'm hoping it does. I mean, I always perceived it to be a pretty popular movie and a pretty well liked movie. So I'm hoping it
Yes.
sells well because I'd like to see them do that a little more often.
Yeah, I agree. It's up there with Hellboy for me. Hellboy is my favorite Guillermo del Toro. I respect every
Mm,
other work that I've seen of his. Devil's
yeah.
Backbone, I have that in that Sony 30th
Mm,
collection, whatever
yeah, that's
4K
a good
that one
movie.
came with.
Yeah.
That one was really good. There's just something about Hellboy. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Just been watching it, I think, almost annually at this point. And Crimson
Mm,
Peak sits very firmly up there, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, massive shout out to this. I don't think this is something I'd wait for a sale on because knowing Arrow, now their US editions, for those people that are curious, do kind of stick around a little bit longer than their UK limited editions. So
Yeah.
you might be able to wait on this for a few months, but if you're wanting that, I'd say go ahead and get it off of Arrow's website for the $40, or you can go to Grindhouse. They're doing it for $40, free shipping. And then you could, if you have a vinegar syndrome near you, if you're one of like in one of the two states or in Canada that has a vinegar syndrome, they sell it there too. So you can
Mm.
go there. Any other closing thoughts, Will?
No, that was it. I mean, yeah, if you're a fan of supernatural, like I said, we named all the genres, romance, thriller, suspense, it's a
Hmm.
gothic film as well. I would highly recommend this. I haven't seen the 4K, but based on what you're saying, Gabe, it sounds phenomenal, and I cannot wait to watch it on my OLED because I feel like it would just pop so
It's going
well
to.
on a good OLED. But the movie itself is fantastic. I'd give it a solid 4.5 out of 5,
Yeah.
um, as far as the movie's concerned. So yeah, definitely pick it up. I recommend it. Yeah, guys, if you picked up this release, let us know down below in the comments. We appreciate all your feedback. And if you have anything else in regards to what you're looking forward to from Arrow, this was a big release for the both of us. So we're excited to see what else they do for the rest of the year. But yeah, other than that, that's it. Like, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Thanks for checking out the video.
Appreciate it, everybody.